قصدا إلى بيته فبينما هو كذلك.
There are still 59 countries in the world where serious criminals are sentenced to death. However, some countries execute the death penalty in such a way that it instills fear in anyone witnessing it. For example, in North Korea during the execution, the father of the convict is forced to watch his son's death. In Saudi Arabia, the method of execution is even more terrifying. In America, the procedure for the death penalty can be discussed. Every year, around 20 criminals are sentenced to death in the United States. However, in many states, the death penalty is no longer valid. Even in states where it is officially banned, it is not always enforced. Still, 11 states in the US continue to sentence criminals to death. If a criminal commits a very serious crime, such as murder, treason, leaking government secrets, or extreme drug trafficking, the death penalty is imposed in the United States. 5 methods are used to carry out executions. 24 hours before death, the convict is forced to sign a document. This document allows the convict to choose the method, time, and place of their death. Each state has a different method of execution. For example, in Washington, D.C., the option of hanging is available. In Utah, the convict can choose death by firing squad. The most famous method, however, is the electric chair. It is believed that this method makes death swift. Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Virginia offer this option. 2 other methods include lethal injection and hydrogen cyanide gas, used in Missouri and California. However, lethal injection is the primary method in all states. Once the death warrant is signed, a 24-hour countdown begins. 24 hours before execution, the criminal is taken from their cell to a room known as the death house. There, the convict is given a final glimpse of the outside world. After entering, their entire body is inspected, and they are given new clothes. Then, they are taken to the final cell, known as the death watch. Here, the convict spends the last night of their life. Most of the convicts can't sleep that night, because they know what's coming. 15 hours before, the criminal is woken up. They take a bath. Breakfast is served as usual. 14 hours before, the convict is allowed to meet their friends for the last time. They are given 45 minutes for a final phone call with loved ones. The convict can laugh, cry, or scream. There are no restrictions on their emotions at this point. 12 hours before, visits are stopped. They are given lunch like any regular prison meal. Then, the convict is allowed to meet a priest or imam to cleanse their soul and prepare their mind. 8 hours before, they are given a chance to see the sunrise for the last time. Then an hour is given to write a letter to his loved one. 6 hours before, his favorite last meal is brought to him, but this meal has to be in the budget of $30. If the criminal is given a death sentence with a medical shock, then his head will be shaved before that. Otherwise, there will be a fire. Then the criminal is taken to take a bath like the last time, and then he is given food like the last time. Witnesses start arriving 3 hours before. These are the family members of the victim, who will watch the death sentence carefully. An hour before, 5 guards will take Ashami to a chamber called the death chamber. And this is the end of his life. Then he will be thrown in a chair or bed. Witnesses will be brought to the waiting room 12 minutes before. Then the curtain of the room will be removed. The window will be kept open. That is, the criminal will not be able to see the witnesses in any way. 10 minutes before, some of the prisoners will be allowed to speak like the last time. Then finally, Ashami's death sentence will be carried out. And if the fire squad is given a death sentence, then there will be a patch on his mouth, and a black cloth will be covered from his head. And the shooters will stand at 25 feet distance and shoot at the same time on the patch on his mouth. Friends, looking at the American death sentence, it seems to be a very difficult matter. But if you compare it with Saudi Arabia, then it's nothing. Every year in Saudi Arabia, about 185 criminals are sentenced to death. In this country, criminals are punished for small crimes. But there are some crimes for which the death sentence is fixed. Murder, drug trafficking, collaboration with an anti-national organization or an anti-national group, any work against the traitor or against national integrity. Here, the criminal's hand is cut for the crime of theft. But if the gunman shoots, then he is sentenced to death. If such things can be seen here about black magic, magic and fraud, then they are also sentenced to death. 3 methods are used to carry out the criminal's death sentence. The first is the firing squad. In this way, clothes are tied around the eyes of the criminals and shot from a close range. Basically, those who are involved in terrorism activities, especially high-profile cases, are killed in this way. The second famous method is suicide. In this way, the criminal is taken to the public place and the whole crowd is killed in front of all the eyewitnesses. Then his body is crucified and thrown in the public place. But this is not like traditional crucifixion. The dead body is displayed in front of the public so that there is a difference among the citizens. And the third method is the most dangerous, which is known as stunned to death. If a criminal commits a crime, then the person is buried in the ground. After that, the public is stabbed to death. The side of the stone is kept small to increase the time of pain and death. If you like the video, like, share, comment, please subscribe.